First of all, we want to thank everyone, and this again is being sponsored by the Union County Republican Party and the Union Towns Tea Party, so I want to thank them. I want to thank our candidates. What he was, Mr. Allison was telling you that will be on the website, all of the candidates received the same 4 questions, and that will be on the website that they all answered. What does it mean to be a Republican? What do you see as your role as the state representative for the 8th District? What committees would you ask for and why? What is your position with regard to casinos coming to Georgia? And how would you respond to a call from the governor or the Speaker of the House to vote for a tax increase if the same was opposed by the voters of the 8th District? Those are the questions you can look for all the candidates answered and sent in. Okay, candidates I have, and we want to first welcome our candidates here. We have for the 8th District House of Representatives, we have Mr. David Barton. We have also Matt Gertler, Josh Littrell, and Ken Warner. Gentlemen, you all have picked a card for an opening statement, but first let me go over a couple of things. We'll all be giving, we have our questions here. You'll give me a number, and we will pull these off here, and that's the question you will get. You will have 2 minutes to respond to the question. If a candidate mentions another candidate's name in the response, I can give you an opportunity to respond. You need to ask for it, okay? So if you want to respond to a candidate's answer, please request that. Or if your name was mentioned in an answer, request a response. We will allow you a 30-second response. And if it requires more, I may give that to you, okay? Just to let you know. And our opening statements are 30 seconds, just a brief time to let the candidates know who they are so we can move on. First, we'll start with Mr. Matt Gertler.
Hello, everybody. Good evening. My name is Matt Gertler, and I run for state representative. I got good news and bad news. The good news is that there's still people left that believe in the Constitution and believe the principles that founded this country. The bad news is there's not enough of us at the Capitol. I'm 27 years old. I'm a Christian. I live in Tiger, and I'm a Republican, a limited government conservative Republican. I was homeschooled. I graduated a year early in UND and attended a commission into the Army. I served in ROTC for 2 years. And after that, I again got involved in politics, and I'm a home builder by trade, and I worked with the current state representative, Stephen Allison, for the last 4 years.
Okay, also candidates, the gentleman on the front, a yellow card signifies 30 seconds, and red card, please wrap up your answer. Next, Mr. David Barton.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is David Barton. I'm with Logan Suches, which is and always has been a part of Union County. We're honored to be here. I believe very strongly in our individual rights. We didn't call it conservatism growing up. It's just the way we live it. We believe very much that God should be involved in our government. It's time for Christian people to stand up and be counted. And I don't think that that's happened a lot. So it's up to us to make a difference. And I think I know that's why I'm running. I appreciate your time tonight. Look forward to talking with you. Thank you.
Okay, next, Mr. Kent Warner.
I just want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. It means a lot for all of you to come out to get a good idea and be informed voters when you go to the polls. And I just want to thank you a lot. I am also a conservative. I'm also a veteran. I'm also a veteran principal. And I'm just going to work real hard towards working for our economy and for education in Northeast Georgia. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Josh Littrell.
I'm Joshua Littrell. I'm from Raven County. I really appreciate you all coming out tonight. I'm a combat veteran of the United States Air Force. I was born in Raven, full generation, so you've got some candidates in this race that are truly from this region, and that's really what it's about. I have been to war, protected my country, my family, my friends, and my community, and I want to continue doing that through service with you all at the Capitol, to go to battle, because this is no joke anymore. We have to go to battle here. And I am the one that's been battle tested, and I will continue to serve you and protect your rights and freedoms with my absolute last breath. Thank you.
Okay, we'll start with the questions. We'll start with Mr. Gertler. I have a 1 through 16 here, so just have at it.
I'll take number one.
Number 1. Under what circumstances would you vote against the will of the citizens of the 8th District? Could you think of something that may come up in the 8th District that you would vote against the will of the constituency?
I don't know. I think I mean off my head, but if there was there was a gun ban in the 8th District, I would absolutely vote no against the people for that because it's in our Constitution. Our Second Amendment rights, we have to be upheld, and it's a natural right of God, not the government.
Has it plenty of time here? Would anybody else like to respond to that question? Go ahead.
It's my duty and my job to represent you all. So there's nothing that I would do that you all tell me I shouldn't do. And that's the key. So you got to represent the district. You got to represent the people. So you vote the way that you all want me to vote. That's the way it is. And that's the way it should be.
Anybody else? Okay, we'll move on. Next question, Mr. Barton, you were number 2, so would you like to pick a number for me?
I like to swim against the stream, so let me have number 13.
How do you believe that Georgia's infrastructure needs should be addressed? How should Georgia's infrastructure needs be addressed?
First and foremost, I think we need to start taking care of what we have. Maintenance is very critical. I'm a builder also by trade. I know that if you don't take care of roadways and buildings and bridges, they deteriorate. I don't have the numbers in front of me right now, so I can't pull it up out of my feeble brain. But there are thousands of bridges in the state that are not safe. There are roads that are crumbling. How we deal with that is to get our legislators to see the need, not just to build new, but to take care of what we have. We certainly have needs for more infrastructure to be built. I feel very strongly that we're putting the cart before the horse by continuing to build at such a rapid pace and not take care of what we have. I can tell you, right here in Union County, how long has it been since you've seen the ditches cleaned out? Something very simple until you start looking at the damage that standing water does to our roadways and then the huge cost that is involved in rebuilding. Our bridges, again, unsafe bridges, unsafe buildings. Infrastructure needs are always tied to population increases. So we know where the big money's going, and it's going down to Atlanta. But we, as folks in the 8th District, need to make our voices heard. And as your representative, that will be one of my keys. I want to be on the Transportation Committee so that I can keep an eye on that. It's a huge part of our budget. And we certainly would like to have all the nice new trains and nice new buses and all the nice new things that we're told we need, but we need to take care of what we have first, in my opinion.
Would anybody else like to respond to that? Mr. Warner?
I think about it every time I come over here, because I go across that little bridge over in Towns County, and I see that big, beautiful new bridge being built. But I think the Transportation Act that we now have in place, I know it's going to cause the average person's price for fuel that they buy to go up for about $35 a year. I do know that. But I think when I start thinking about my children going across those bridges and up and down those roads, and when I think about my grandchildren in the future going up and down those roads and across those bridges, I feel like that's a real small price to pay. I do think that we do need to watch where that money's going, but it is there, and I don't think that we need anything new. It's going to be there, and I think it just needs to be used wisely, and not all of it needs to stay in the area of Atlanta, the metro area, but it does need to come to the northeast Georgia area. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I lost my mom in a car accident in 1991 in front of the high school in Raven County. It was a 2-lane road back then, and I'm the one that knows how secure infrastructure needs to be, and I understand completely why we need to have safety and safe roads and safe access here in our community. So that's something I will fight for tooth and nail to bring those funds
should have enough money to do things for the infrastructure of Georgia. What they're talking about here is being fiscally conservative. We want to spend the money, taxpayers' money very wisely to get stewardship of that. I think that it's possible as long as we stick to those principles.
Okay, our next question, Mr. Kent Warner. Pick it up.
I'm going to go with number 7.
7. You did see how wide it gets.
No, that's just how many children I have, so I thought we'd let it go.
What is your position with regard to the use of state funds to provide welfare benefits to Syrian, Iraqi refugees who will be coming to Georgia? 2 minutes.
All right, that's a big one, isn't it? That, that's something that I've already been thinking about a lot, about welfare and getting a lot of our members of our state off of welfare, and to add to an already overburdened fund, it really causes me a lot of concern. And I would just have to say I would be against that unless the federal government's going to come up with money to make up the difference between who we already have on our welfare rolls and then add them on. I just think that would have to be considered depending on the number of Syrian refugees that we receive.
I'd like to get the other candidates to respond. We're doing well on time. Do you want me to repeat the question? Or?
No, sir. I'm going to give you a clear answer. It's absolutely unacceptable. When we have homeless veterans in Atlanta and across our state, and we're giving welfare benefits to those who are not from this country, focus first on our people, and then we can take care of those if we can at that point in time. But first it has to be veterans, first it has to be our community, second our community, and then third we can focus on if there's enough to go around.
Thank you.
I'll also say no, but also have to look at the federal government too. They're the ones that are doing this funding also to the Syrian refugees. So it should be elected from the states, the 10th Amendment. We have to decide on that, but I would say no.
I would say no. I don't agree with bringing in folks that we haven't vetted properly yet. I'm a big supporter of workfare instead of welfare. We know that it can work. If these folks, and they do need help, we know that there are a lot of them that are in need. That we get them here, they're properly vetted, we know that they're safe. We need to have something for them to do besides sit around. Work, I've spent a lot of time working with other folks. I was in vocational rehab district for several years. I've owned my own company for a long time. Work has meaning. People need to have a sense of self-worth. They come here, they get a handout, there's nothing for them to do. So if we were to allow them to come in, which I don't know that we need to at this point, we certainly don't need to just give them a handout. We need to offer them something that will help this country.
Okay, Mr. Josh Littrell, pick a number.
2, please, sir.
Number 2. What would you consider the top 3 issues facing the state of Georgia at this time?
Well, when I consider that, I have to consider our community first. So first, absolute first commitment from, I think, our region and from the sentiments of the constituents is jobs. We got to bring local jobs back to the area. That's a real big key. It's terrible that these families are being broken up because when I joined the military and got out, and then I went to college. I went to college in Atlanta, Georgia Tech College, and got my degree in business administration. I've been doing insurance and financial services for about 10 years, and my dad got sick. He had a heart attack, and bypass surgery, and then back surgery, and I came back home to take care of him. And I thought with my executive level experience as vice president of the company I was at, and all the years of experience I've spent in the industry, that I could get a wonderful job. How about $10 or $12 an hour? That's absolutely unacceptable because there's nothing here in this community. So we're breaking the family nucleus, forcing these kids to go out into bigger cities, find jobs, and then they don't come back. So we've got, obviously, that. And then we've got to limit the government. That's a real key. We've got to make sure that we're reducing the size of that. We've got 129 state agencies in Georgia. And with, as Matt alluded to earlier, an absolutely tremendous budget, record-breaking budget. And that's unacceptable. So we got to make sure we're fighting against that and taking care of those issues. And just focusing on what's happening in the community. Instead of worrying about what's happening in Atlanta and things that are happening south of our region, let's focus on our community and what we're doing here. And then leveraging our education system, that's real key. We got to remove Common Core from it, and we got to put vocational training back in our high schools. Let them have agriculture, let them have horticulture, let them go home ec. Let them learn a trade when they're in high school, so that way when they come out of high school, they can go into the job markets, have viable members of society making $10, $12, $15, $18 an hour, and then when they get done with that, they've got a career out of high school. That's a nominal idea. No, that's a brand new thing. No, it's not brand new at all. That's what we did when I was in high school. And now they don't do it anymore. Let's put it back into it. Let's really train them on trades, put them into the job market.
Thank you. Any other candidates like to respond to that?
Well, jobs, economic growth, and limited government. First of all, the first thing the military is supposed to do is protect your rights, the Constitution, and life, liberty, and property. But it is only possible to have economic growth and job creation if you follow the principles that make this country great. When you have prosperity come to this region and Georgia as a whole, we have to be fiscally conservative. Just like we have to live within our means, the government should be living within its own means, having everything limited. We need less regulations so we can have flourishing industries and business entrepreneurs and individuals. More personal responsibility, having a level playing field between picking winners and losers and giving subsidies to businesses. That's not the way America is supposed to be. One thing we could do is repeal the $5 hotel tax that is harmful to our industry here, our tourism industry. But this is just
Mr. Burke, your time's up.
Thank you.
Let's move on now to another question. Let's get some more here. Now it's back to you, Mr. Matt Gertler. Pick a number here.
Number 2.
Who's gone?
3.
What is one thing you would like the voters of the 8th District to know about you that they currently do not know? Truth or dare?
Well, I'm an RA instructor. I mean, people don't know that. I believe in our Second Amendment wholeheartedly, and like I said before, that it is a natural right. It comes from God. It doesn't come from any government. We've created a government to protect those rights, life, liberty, and property. Besides that, I don't know what else you know about me right now. I've covered a lot of things.
Let's get 30 seconds from all the candidates on that. I think that's something that everybody would like to hear.
I'm a former nationally certified first responder and firefighter. I have 1 granddaughter and 3 grandsons, and they are absolutely spectacular. And that's one of the main reasons, not the main reason, but one of the main reasons that I wanted to run. And Such is a great place. Y'all come see us sometime. We got hot dogs and peanut butter in my house.
Mr. Littrell?
Oh, that's nice. You got see, it's Latrell when you get outside the county line. It's Littrell inside. Actually, that's right. Ray Bird and Ray Lund. So, yeah, I think I'm an educator first and foremost. I don't have the credentials that some of our panelists do, but I am an educator, and I would sometimes argue that sometimes I'm a more influential educator, because as a coach, I can coach young men and young boys into what life's consequences mean. Where teachers are bound by what's happening in the classroom, I can really talk about life experiences. So I'm an educator first and foremost.
Mr. Warren?
Well, I can bench press 315 pounds. I weigh 59. No, what I'd like for y'all to know about me real quick is that most people know I'm an educator, but I was talking with Mr. Fitzpatrick at the end of his speech there, and I didn't realize I'm still in education. I'm only semi-retired because I still teach at the Mountain Ed Center in Reagan County, helping young people who work during the day and go to school at night to get their high school degree. And then I also work some at our local private school teaching. So I'm still involved in educating our students in Reagan County. Thank you.
Okay, next question goes to Mr. David Barton. Pick a number.
Number 9.
Currently, the country uses the Electoral College So the question is, what is your position concerning the national popular vote bill? Would you be in favor? I think we'll get everybody to answer that. National popular vote bill.
The study that I've done up to this point, and it's limited, tells me that the Electoral College was set up to give smaller rural states their fair share of the vote in electing our president. Without it, we would run the risk of the large cities, large population states like New York and California being basically able to walk away with the vote because they have so much more of the population. Small states, Wyoming, the smallest population in the nation, they have a right to be heard. So at this point, from what I know of the bill, the way it's written, I would not support it. I think that we need to maintain everybody's fair and equal rights in the electoral process.
Any other candidates like to respond? 30 seconds.
We're not a democracy, we're a republic, so we should maintain that electoral college. That's about it.
I'm absolutely against it because I think it's an antiquated process and I think it was put in place for uneducated population and to keep them down. Now we're much more educated, we're much more technology savvy, and we can really spread that vote out. Every vote should matter, not electoral colleges forcing us to have a new president that maybe we don't choose to be the president. So I'm against it, and I think it should be taken out of the system.
I'm still be for it because, like Mr. Barton said, it does give the rural areas and smaller states an opportunity to have their voice heard.
Okay, thank you. Next is Mr. Warner picking up.
Let's see, I'll take 5.
Yeah, that's fair. I will tell you the ones available from here on.
I can still see it from here. Feel good about that too.
Okay, Ms. Warner, do you believe in offering tax incentives or subsidies to businesses to attract them to the district?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I keep thinking there's a couple of things that go through my mind on that question. One, we lost the A Corporation in Raven County just a couple of years ago. The A Corporation produces struts and metal parts for airplanes, certain metal parts for airplanes, and there went yet another factory that left Raven County. And the reason they left, and of course I'll just tell you, the reason they left is because Duke Power over in South Carolina offered them a better electrical bill, a better electrical price than we could offer them in Raven County. That was the main reason for them leaving, because they were looking at that. So I know that's not really a subsidy, but I would certainly like to look at how I can work with Georgia Power to at least keep their rates competitive with Duke Power, because we lost them. But I also look at what happened with it, because when you look at the Super Bowl and not taxing the tickets. Yes, by not taxing the tickets, we're going to lose about $6 million in taxes from the Super Bowl tickets. But I look at that $6 million, really, if you turn it around, you can look at it as an investment, because it's going to, when the Super Bowl comes here, it's going to bring in about $30 million. So yes, I mean, there's some things that I think you can do when you look at all the different things that could be brought into the state that would eventually earn us more money, but maybe we'll lose up front, but we would gain in the end.
Okay, anyone else like to respond to that? Tax incentives or subsidies to bring business into the 8th District?
I agree with Mr. Warner. I completely agree. And the thing that we need to remember is we, the people, tell the government what to do. So until we can tell them to enact a fair tax or whatever it is that we're going to do to change our tax system, which has to be replaced, we need to offer tax incentives for businesses to come here so we can bring jobs, foster relationships, and really bring this economy back to where it should be.
I absolutely disagree. I don't think government creates jobs, people create jobs. You got to have a free market for this to happen. Subsidies is picking winners and losers. You're saying this guy's better than the other. We need a level playing field. We need less regulations so that we can have everybody have a fair advantage. I would say no, absolutely not to the subsidies or incentives for that. This is what's stifling our industry. We have the $5 hotel hotel tax, the gas tax, the ad valorem tax, hospital bed tax. This is what's killing our industry. Government is.
I would say that we have to look at where Georgia stands in relation with other states, and that's talking about a level playing field. We have to look at what the competition's doing. I'm normally not in favor of buying business, and that's the way I view subsidies and incentives. But on a case-by-case basis, if we're going to offer incentives or subsidies, each company that we offer those to should have some kind of a contract that locks them into being here. I have a production background, in addition to having been self-employed. I know what it means to have to hire people. So yes, we need to look at that, but each situation needs to be weighed carefully.
Oh, okay, not going to go to the numbers right now. Okay, excuse me? Okay. Oh, okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
I mean, just going with what I was saying, this is what's stifling our prosperity for the region. Is not having, our service industry, our manufacturing, our tourism. It's because the government's gotten too big. If you really look at it on a macro level, those taxes not even seem like much, but you add them together, like I was saying, like the bed tax, the hospital bed tax, the gas tax, the ad valorem tax, the gas tax, the largest tax increase in our history. That's what's hurting us. It's a product of big government. We should be offering incentives to these companies which have a level playing field for all businesses.
I'd like to ask this question, and considering Mr. Warner, this is not on our numbers, you brought this up, and I'd like to give everybody 1 minute. What happens down in Atlanta a lot of times is several things get bundled into a bill. Maybe something that you don't want to vote for, but 3 things are in the bill you do want to vote for. Because you brought up the tax incentive for Super Bowl tickets, that actually is in the bill for our school tax holiday that we get. So this is my little comment. Super Bowl attendees get a tax break. I get a tax break on socks and underwear. What do you think about? What do you think about? And everybody admit, because you brought up the Super Bowl tickets. What do you think about bills that you may see that are bundled? Would you vote for a bill that has absolutely got something in it you don't want, but there's 3 things that are good? I mean, all of you take a minute for that, please.
I think it sounds like I'm passing the buck, but it would depend. It would depend a lot on what was in that bill. One of those 3 things that I did want was the 4th one that I did want would be in there. If it was something that I felt like was detrimental to Northeast Georgia, and I had talked to my constituents, then I would certainly not be in favor of it. If it was something that doesn't necessarily affect Northeast Georgia, then I don't know why I would not vote for it, even if it was something I didn't necessarily disagree with it. If I felt like it wasn't going to affect us, and the other 3 things were beneficial to us, then I would probably vote for it.
That's a tough one, and it's an absolutely ludicrous system that they tag on these little lines that have nothing to do with the bill. And until we can get that changed, we're forced to listen to what the system is now. So what I say, I was an educator. My job is to inform you all, when you vote me in, to inform you of the issues, and then listen to what your feedback is. So if you say, yeah, 3 of those 4 things we do support, that 1 thing, yes, maybe we don't, but it makes sense to go ahead and vote yes, then that's my job. Well, if you say no, then that's my job. That's what my job is, to represent you.
Well, it depends. If one thing is unconstitutional, absolutely vote no for it. But you see this happen all the time. I've been down the court for years, and I've read thousands of bills. And what they'll do is, under Georgia law, they'll have 1 subject for 1 bill, but they'll pervert the bill so much that sometimes we won't even recognize the bill when it comes out. But it does depend on its constitutionality, first of all. But every situation is different. You have to look at the Constitution first if we make any decision.
I would take each one of the 4 items individually. If an item was something that I personally was totally against, my idea is to have, when elected, groups of people that volunteer to help me from each county and district. Get in touch with those people, get feedback from the district, and depending what the bill is and what the items that are in that bill would be, I would have to weigh that decision based on the information I got from the people that elected me and sent me down there to do the job.
Okay, we're back to our numbers now. Josh Littrell.
Perfect. I'll take 4.
Is there a specific bill or cause you would champion as your first bill when you got to Atlanta?
Wow. I will, if the constituents want me to. It's up to you all, but I can tell you right now that when I look at little Jager, and I look at little Sarah Beth, and Ava, and all the veterans that are committing suicide every single day, 22 veterans a day die from suicide and PTSD. 22. Veterans die at 50%. A 50% greater rate of accidental overdoses than civilians do. And it's absolutely unacceptable and it's preventable. We can do that with medical cannabis. And I've got to educate you all, if you haven't heard about it or understand the benefits behind it, we've got to sit down and have an open conversation because we're saving lives with it. I was at Harvard University yesterday for a medical cannabis summit at Harvard Medical School, talking about the benefits of it, how it's stopping the growth of cancer. These are veterans that are killing themselves because the medications that they take, the antipsychotics, they don't make them who they are. They make them somebody else. They're not killing themselves because of the PTSD. They're killing themselves because of the medications and the way that makes them feel. That's the problem. And then these veterans that are dying at a 50% greater rate from accidental overdose are literally those who are taking their meds as prescribed and maybe didn't eat dinner that night, maybe had a beer with dinner, and then they just don't wake up. Those are preventable. Absolutely preventable. No one has ever overdosed and died from cannabis, and no one ever will. And I'm happy to carry that flag. If these constituents say that I can carry it, they will allow me to carry it, I will absolutely champion them.
Would anybody else like to respond on the first bill that you would like to champion?
I'd like to champion a bill that would start with some deregulation in Northeast Georgia, deregulation of some of the industries that we have, especially some of the industries that we have in the agricultural area. I just think there's some things that we can do. I've talked with some owners there. I just think there's some things that we can do to remove some regulations that will, as my colleagues have said, create a free market and get some industry, especially the agricultural industry, going again in our Northeast Georgia region.
As I said before, one of the things that we should do is repeal most of these taxes and regulations. I mean, the $5 hotel tax would be one of the things that I would advocate for, among other things, because it is hurting our industry, as we're all saying up here. It's what's devastating this region and Georgia as a whole.
Unless I had something coming from someone in the district that took precedence, I would very much like to see us work on budget reform in the state of Georgia so that we know where our money's going and we can better manage it.
Okay, let's start again. Mr. Gertler, your number, please.
10.
How would you have voted on the transportation bill and answer why you would vote one way or the other?
I would have voted absolutely against it. I mean, it's one of the largest tax increases in Georgia history. But it's a continuation of business as usual down there. I mean, the year before, Georgia, before I asked on the T-Splosh if they wanted a tax increase, and 9 regions out of 12 said no. So they circumvented the will of the people and they put a HB 170 in, and then that's also where the hotel tax came in. So I've been down there for 4 years. I've seen these things. They do it all the time. So absolutely vote no. And I oppose all new tax increases. That's one of the things that I'm very passionate about. That's what's hurting the industry. It's hurting people, and it's not proper representation. Thank you.
Anybody else? 30 seconds.
I would have voted no simply because not knowing everything that's in that bill. We need more public input, we need more dissemination of information to the public, so you, the voters, can make the decisions. My job will be to represent you. I want you to have a voice and make your decisions known.
Okay, excellent.
I agree.
I guess I won't be the only one that disagrees, because I would have voted for it. They changed the sales tax on gasoline from the sales tax to an excise tax, which means that it's going to be taxed on the unit sold, not the dollar amount sold. But I think it was an easier way for the state government to know how much they could budget each and every year, because gasoline, we all know, can go from $1.50 a gallon to $4 a gallon, and so those sales taxes will either go way up or way down. But by selling it by the unit, they now know how much they're going to have each and every year, so they're a little bit more able to budget it. And there's some other things in the bill, but my time is limited, so I'm going to have to stop.
Okay, Mr. Barton, your next number. We have 6, 8, 11, 12, 14, and 16. I didn't see a 15. Oh, okay. Did you say that? Okay. Well, get down to considering. Let's stay focused on ethics in Atlanta. Currently, the JQC in transparency and leadership concerning the Speaker of the House, the Governor, and other elected officials. What do you think we should do? Should there be an ethics bill? What do you think should happen with the JQC and transparency?
I think the entire transparency situation in the state of Georgia needs to be revamped. We know that things are not as they always seem. This year, my dump truck tag is going to cost me $100 more than it did last year because of a fee that I never heard of. I didn't know anything about it. We aren't raising taxes, but boy, we sure are slapping the citizens with fees. Transparency is one of the big issues in my campaign. I will be honest, I will be open, I will be available to you, and I will represent you, not the folks down in Atlanta, not the governor, not the speaker. Honesty in government. Let's face it, folks, that's why we're where we are now. Grandpa always said, you make the bed, you got to lay in it, but we're laying in it. I think it's time to change the sheets, and we start right here at home.
Let's go down through here. I'd like to hear all of you concerning, are you all aware with what took place with the JQC in the last session? They basically dismantled the JQC in the last session. In state ethics, transparency and the leadership ethics, do you see a new ethics bill needed, and what would you do with the JQC?
I think it's, when you're trying to legislate morality, it fails. I mean, when you look at the ethics bill that come in, it really is just hiding the problems. People say, well, we have an ethics bill now, so everything's good. And it's not what happens. And I've been down there for 4 years, and I've seen these things happen. And some of the things in the Senate they do is they hand vote some back, so no one can see. It's just one example. But it's not going to, I don't think it's going to happen through a bill, JQC. It'll happen through keeping people accountable. And it's a societal issue.
Ethics is a joke in the Capitol, flat out. Renee Unterman and I have had the displeasure of working with for the last few years, who is the head of the Health and Services Committee, and she actually works for a company that has the largest contract in the state of Georgia with a medical carrier. Can you believe that? She chairs the Health and Human Services Committee, and she works for the company that gets the largest contract in the state of Georgia. That's a joke, and she helped write the legislation for the ethics bill. Makes a lot of sense. No, you got to vote them out. You got to vote for people who are not the establishment's pick, and that's real clear in this race. There's one with a beard that's not.
I just think the transparency is also very important. I mean, as a principal of 5 different schools, transparency was a big issue in education, in a public school setting. So I certainly think that should carry over to the state, and if necessary. I know that the state of Georgia is badly in need of revamping the way that we fund public schools. We have a system that's over 30 years old now that we used to fund public schools, and I think the same thing would be true with transparency and ethics. We probably need to revamp that as well.
Okay, Mr. Warner, to return to pick, I have 6, 8, 11, 12, and 14.
11.
Try to be specific here with this. What do you believe makes District 8 unique in all of Georgia?
Well, we have a lot of great things in Northeast Georgia. First of all, I think what makes us unique is our environment up here. I think we have perhaps the best environment in the state, and that's why so many people want to either come, move to live here, or at least come to visit here. And I think that's one of the things that makes our Northeast corner unique.
It's flat out the people, in my opinion. That's what makes us unique. We're an amazing little collection of people. We got a little bit of everything. We got the roots deep just like mine, and then we got people who just moved here 4 years ago, I spoke to earlier. We got people from all different places around the world. One thing we don't have is a lot of diversity. And that's something that I'm really proud to say that I've learned through the military and through my time serving others and traveling across this country training financial advisors, is that I was open to all different races and ethnicities, and I was able to communicate with those. That's something you got to be able to do when you get to the Capitol, and I can do that. So it's the people and it's the ambiance. This is my second favorite place in the whole world. Creek and the Mediterranean is my first. The only reason it's first is because it's got the mountains and it's got the beach too.
The 8th District is incredibly unique because it's the third most conservative district in the United States. It's awesome to go around and campaign with people that understand the principles that found this country: limited government, individuality, and personal responsibility. I don't have to convince people around here to be conservative. It's an awesome place to campaign, an awesome place to live, and besides that, it's a great place. We need to go back to the roots, back to the Constitution, and back to the principles that found the country. I think that we can have more prosperity and freedom for all of Georgia, especially for the 8th District as well.
It's hard for me to answer this question because my ancestors cut their own wagon road into such, so I'm very prejudiced. I don't think there's ever been a better place or ever will be. The people here are extremely unique and wonderful. The native folks have tremendous values, love of family and home. The folks that moved in, I've said many times, God has blessed these mountains tremendously by the quality of people that keep moving here and becoming my neighbor. So I'd like to say thank you to all of you for what you're doing and for being here and for your concern.
Okay, Mr. Littrell. We have 6, 8, 12, and 14.
Lucky number 8, please, sir.
Would you be in favor of legislation to elect rather than appoint the State Board of Regents? Why or why not?
It's an interesting one. You know, I'm all about the people's voice. So I've said it from the get-go that you guys are well represented, and I think everybody should have a vote. So I would have to lean towards an elected system, because when you appoint, you get people who sit on those boards forever and ever and ever and never move, and then that's what breeds corruption over and over and over again. So I'm for elected officials being a part of that and controlling, you know, most of everything that's in this state. If we have laws and we have education systems, stuff that we're working on, it needs to be elected. And that's why I'm huge on term limits. That's one of the biggest things I'm running on. We got to end the corruption that's in the Capitol. We got to end the corruption in the federal government by voting them out, turning them over, and I'll introduce legislation that gets them out of office from day one. I will walk it down there. No grandfather clause for those people who have been there in 20 or 30 years. Get out of office. It's time to go. And if we can get it passed with the people's support, because the people in the Capitol aren't going to support term limits, but you all can. And I can make it a media nightmare for them. That's the one good thing I can do, is bring the media into this so that they play havoc for the legislative process. And I can get that message out to the people, and then you all can call your representative, me, hopefully, and you can force your other friends or talk to your other friends about doing it, and they can make those calls in their districts as well. So I'm for an elected board.
Anyone else? We don't have, do you want to, 30 seconds?
I'm just going to say, add on to that, we have, it's fun for elected, the more representation we have, the better.
Okay, we don't have time for everybody to pick another question, and one, we only have 3 here, so we don't have time, and there's 2 very important things we'd like to get to before we get to the final question in your closing statement. I'm going to ask all of you to try to stay within 30 seconds. These may be tough to do this here, so that way we can get 2 more questions in. Something that you filled out for everyone to take home to see on the website, I kind of like to know tonight. If elected in the 8th district, you're getting ready to go to Atlanta and meet lobbyists. Pause. Lobbyists. Plural. They're going to be all over the place. This past session, the largest group of lobbyists in Atlanta were from the gambling casino lobbyists. So I would like 30 seconds for each and every one of you to let us know if you support casino gambling, and try to put in there in 30 seconds how you're going to handle lobbyists when you get down to the gold zone.
Personally, I'm against gambling, but I think that once again we failed to legislate morality. I'm against that. People want to gamble, they can go to North Carolina. And about the lobbyists, when I first started working in the Capitol 4 years ago, I met a man and he said there was 300 lobbyists in the 70s, now there's over 4,000. So there's a huge problem. But I'm against it, and people can go to North Carolina and gamble.
Well, I'll answer the lobbyist question first. First time I met with Representative Allison, he flat out told me I always pay for my dinner and I don't ever take any money from him. So that's one good thing that I will stick to. But I know that they're a necessary evil because they represent some good industries. The healthcare industry, nurses, teachers, doctors, they represent your voice. That's what you pay for. They're your lobbyists. So I'm there to listen to them, but I'm also to check myself with you all. That's absolutely, unequivocally my job, is to run it by you, make sure it's right, and vote the way it should be.
Casino gambling?
Casino gambling is coming whether we like it or not. The governor's already built a road to nowhere, and it's right there near Lake Lanier Island. So get ready for it. Do we want Georgia to have it, or do we want the Cherokee Nation to have it? That's the question. Do you want you and us and all of us in the state that pay taxes to benefit from it, or do you want it to go to a tribe? That's the question. That's all it comes down to.
Mr. Warner.
On the casino, I just think it's something that the state of Georgia doesn't need right now. I said that on my forum. You can read it. Our economy is doing well. We don't need it. One of the reasons that Biloxi, Mississippi took gambling is because they didn't have anything else, and that's the reason they took it. Right now, I think if you went to Biloxi, Mississippi and asked them, they would like to see Georgia get it. Take the people that are coming there to gamble back into Georgia, back into the state of Georgia. And so that's one of my main reasons for not wanting it here.
Mr. Barton?
No on the casinos, and I am elected to represent the people, not the lobbyists.
Okay, really quick here. It got out of the Senate this past session, but it did not get on the floor for a vote at the House. So sometimes there's difficulty getting bills on the floor for a vote. But if the opportunity comes about, would you support the citizens of Georgia having the right to vote on making English a constitutional amendment to the state of Georgia to make English the official language? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, all vote counts. All votes count.
Yes.
Last one, and then we'll go to your final question. Again, 30 seconds. You will be you're in District 8, and what's happening in Georgia that's starting to take place is what we're calling two Georgias. You hear two Georgias. You hear Atlanta, and you hear the outside districts. You hear things that are voted on that affect Atlanta, but also affect your district back home, has different effects. Could you just elaborate on what you think the difference is in the two Georgias and bring up something that you think is not good for your district? Will you vote against it? I mean, I don't know where I'm at here, if you understand where I'm coming from. Do you understand where I'm coming from? Is it good for your district? Will you vote for it even if they're putting pressure on you in Atlanta? There's two Georgias right now. A lot of people are saying.
Well, I have a microphone. I'm just going to have to let his question, Mike.
There's all
Okay, all of our questions. I mean, if it's not good for Northeast Georgia, then I'm going to vote against it. I mean, I just have to say say, it's not good, and no matter how much pressure I'm being put under, again, I'm going to be listening to you, but if it's not good for us, then us up here in Northeast Georgia, I will vote against it.
I wasn't put under any pressure to join the military, and I damn sure ain't going to succumb to pressure from the Capitol, whether it's the governor, lieutenant governor, it doesn't matter. If it doesn't matter to these constituents, it should not be taken care of in our district. It should be voted against. So we need to really focus on what the issues are in Atlanta. Vote that way, whatever, because it doesn't matter to us. The only thing that matters to us is this District 8. That's the only thing that matters to me. So I vote that way. Everything that I think of, that's the way I'll vote.
First off, you have to vote to the Constitution, and when I'm elected down in the Capitol, I'm accountable to you, the people of Georgia, 8th District, and God, and that's it. I am not accountable to the governor, lieutenant governor, the Speaker of the House. I will vote accordingly to those principles.
If I had to choose between supporting my district and pleasing the folks at the Capitol or in the city of Atlanta, Atlanta is very important to us. It's a major economic engine. But again, I keep saying it, I will represent the people who send me to do the job.
The Union County Republican Party and the Union Towns Tea Party they wrote a specific question for each candidate. So I've not read these questions before tonight. These questions are going directly to the candidate, written for them. So gentlemen, these are specifically to you. There's no response from the other candidates, and you will have 2 minutes, and then we'll have our closing remark. Let's start with Mr. Josh Littrell. Given that medical marijuana is a prominent issue in your campaign, can you explain what limits you would support on its use, and how do we stop this issue from turning into a complete legalization of marijuana? 2 minutes.
Well, I'm for an absolute controlled system of medical cannabis. That's no doubt about it. That's what I'm pushing for. I'm pushing to save lives. I mean, that's all this comes down to for me. When I watch my brothers and sisters, I promise I wasn't going to do this. When I watch my brothers and sisters die every year, that's unacceptable. And when I watch these little children suffer with 300 seizures, 400 seizures a day, and then they go down to 2, 3, and sometimes none, absolutely, I'll push for an in-state cultivation of medical cannabis that's in a regulated system, controlled, so that we can make sure patients have access to medicine. Did you all know that Medical Cannabis Commission was put together by the governor, and he stacked it? He knew the outcome before he put that thing together. That's why he put 9 law enforcement on it and 5 physicians. All 5 physicians voted for in-state cultivation of medical cannabis because they see the medical benefit behind it. But all the law enforcement voted against it. This is not a law enforcement issue. It should come down to the patient having a conversation with their physician, and if it's something that they can use as a way, as an alternative to not put deadly medicine into their body that they could possibly overdose and die from, then that's what kind of system I'm looking for. Controlled access, overseen by the state, and making sure that it gets into the right hands of the people, so we're curbing the abuse. But the one thing I will caveat with that is nobody's ever overdosed and died from cannabis, and no one ever will.
Thank you. This next question, Mr. Kurt Kemp Warner. This is for you. Given your 30 years of service in education and your belief in small government, how much money is enough to spend on education in Georgia, especially in the light of our record spending on education and our low ranking nationwide?
How much money is enough? I mean, it's not I think we have enough money right now. I mean, with what we're receiving, what we need to do with the money that we are receiving is we need to hold, and this is something that I did, we need to hold our educators more accountable in our public schools. It's something that I did. I know that they're working on that. I know that the legislature just recently backed off the 50% to 30% on the test that the students take, holding the teachers actually accountable for. I don't know that I'd like to see individual teachers held accountable. I'd like to see individual schools held accountable in education, because I think when the school is held accountable, our students succeed so much more. And going back to what I said earlier, our QBE formula is in desperate need of overhaul. It was going to be overhauled this past year, and then it was tabled. I think it's going to come up again. I hope it comes up again. It's something that's why I put myself on the paper as being on the education committee, because I'd certainly like to be part of that, because I would like to make sure I know where the money's going. In Towns County, Union County, Raven County, and White County, we actually have millions of dollars that leave our county that we never see. And so much of the formula we are not even receiving back. And they call them austerity cuts. I always like to call them severe and painful cuts, because we don't receive them back in our system, and the only thing that can be done when we receive those cuts in our system is to make it up with local taxes. But I think it's real necessary for us to overhaul the way we fund our school system. It was actually, as you said, I've had 30 years in education. Well, it was 30 years ago when I started my career in education that the formula was started, and we're still using the same formula today. So I think it's very necessary for us to overhaul it, and I think that will be the first step in making sure that all the schools receive their equal share they need in order to have great public schools. But by the way, I'm sorry, I just got to say this. We have the best public schools in the state. That's year in, year out, it'll be sure to have some of the best schools in the state. I just have to say that. I'm sorry. I'm proud of our education system.
Mr. Gertler, given your ardent views on the Second Amendment, what restrictions, if any, should the government be able to place on firearms, and what rights do private property owners have in relation to the Second Amendment?
For the mentally ill, I don't think we have a gun, but the Second Amendment is one of our natural rights. It's given from God, not from government. Criminals don't follow the law. That's why they're criminals. One of the things I'm advocating for is constitutional carry, which would allow you to express that right and not pay a tax to the government to have your gun. Basically, it brings that right into a privilege. Besides that,
Mr. Barton, how would you vote if a bill sponsored by the majority of the 8th District is against your personal conviction?
It would depend on what the issue was. I will not violate my convictions as related to Jesus Christ and my religion, my faith. My faith defines who I am. I cannot imagine the people of this district overwhelmingly asking me to do anything like that. So it's hard for me to answer that question. Everything I can think of, people I've talked to, I've met some wonderful people. Everything I can think of, people are saying basically they feel the same way I do. And we can disagree on things, but our personal convictions are very deeply held and they run strong. I would vote as the people who elect me tell me to vote. If I were put in a position where I had to choose between representing you and violating my personal convictions, then I imagine that I would step down. I will serve Jesus Christ and His Father first and foremost. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, candidates. Now it comes time for our closing statements. All of you will have 1 minute. Mr. Gertler, Matt Gertler, you will go first. 1 minute, please.
Thank you for having me. I'm running for state representative because I believe in the Constitution, the principles that found in this country. I'm the only candidate with the experience and principles. I've been out of the Capitol. I've read thousands of bills. I'll be able to properly represent the district that they want. Come May 24th, you have a choice. Please choose the most conservative voice for this district, one that would not be another cog in the wheel. Hope that I can earn your trust and your support of the ballot box on May 24th. Thank you very much.
Okay, Mr. Barton, 1 minute to close.
Thank you for your time. I urge you to study each candidate, not just in this race, but in every race. I urge you to pray for our nation, pray for the candidates. Every one of them. I think every one of these men is an exceptional individual from what I've been able to find out about. I'm honored to be in such company. I'm running because I want to win. I feel like this is something God called me to do. I was called to preach when I was 21. I've never felt led to pastor a church. This is something that I was under conviction to do. I think it's time, as I've already said, for us as common Christian people in this nation to stand up to be counted. faith, I think we all worship the same God. Government is ours. Government is to serve us, not the other way around. Thank you for your time. I ask you to just educate yourself and pray every day for this great nation.
Okay, Mr. Warner, you want to close?
First of all, I see that Stephen Allison is still here, and I want to thank him for his 8 years of service to our state. Mr. Allison, thank you. And I too just want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. Being informed citizens is the best thing that you can do when you go to the polls and vote. I will be staying here a little bit afterwards, and I'm certain that we didn't answer all of your questions, so if there are any questions that I can answer, I'll be hanging around here. I'll be happy to answer them. If I don't get to you, or you don't get to me, you're asking someone else a question or something like that, or you simply have to go somewhere else, then please reach out to me through phone or email. I'm retired, semi-retired, as I said earlier. I'm retired. I feel like I have the time to devote to you, and I will. I always like that statement. This one person said, "If you contact me and I don't contact you back, I'm probably dead." Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Littrell, 1 minute.
Thanks everybody for showing up tonight. If you wouldn't mind a show of hands of all veterans in the room. I want to thank y'all for everything. That's why I started advocating for veterans' rights to save lives for my brothers and sisters a few years ago. And as I've done that, the community's seen what I've done in the newspaper, on the media, in the news. So they asked me to be their representative. I had people approach me saying, "Look, you're fighting so hard for veterans. Will you fight just as hard for me?" Absolutely. I went to war for you. Why wouldn't I go to battle for you in the Capitol? So I had to think about it long and hard, and I did. And that's the reason I joined this race, is to be your representative, to go to battle. You got to have somebody who's ready day one, who's already been battle tested, and that's me. With the things that are happening in Paris, the things that happen in Brussels, we got to be ready for that, because it's coming stateside. So we got to be ready to respond. That's something I did. I was a nuclear, biological, chemical technician when I was in the Air Force. So I specialized in the detection and abatement of those issues. So I'm ready for it. I'm ready to be your representative from day one. This flag and this community is what matters to me.
Okay, that concludes our 8th District House of Representatives forum here. Let's hear it for these candidates. Thank you, and I guess as we take 5 minutes to prepare for the school board, if we can get the candidates over here for a group candidate picture while they're preparing, we'd like to do that. And again, stay put. We're going to have the union